The new year is just around the corner, and speaking of that, it reminds me of a moment that completely changed the course of life for the Chaldea crew. A heartbreaking moment full of terror still lingers in our minds. And guess what? It happened around this time of year too. Let's rewind to just after Christmas 2017. With Goetia defeated and the singularities resolved, Fujimaru's role as a master was officially declared over. The same went for the Chaldea staff, who were set to be replaced by new employees. For Mash and Fujimaru, this felt like the start of something beautiful, a new year full of hope and blessings. I mean, think about it. Mash finally had a normal, healthy body with a proper human lifespan. No more looming enemies threatening their peace. For the first time, she could feel free and live her life as an ordinary girl. They even had plans to go to school. Da Vinci joked that if Mash ended up going to school, she'd probably be one of the popular kids. Fujimaru was pumped too. He wanted to show Mash the outside world. Their world, on their own time. Everything seemed perfect. They probably thought the only things ahead of them were cozy New Year's celebrations together and a heartfelt farewell to the Chaldea crew. But everything changed when Gordolf Music showed up with his soldiers and some other high-ranking officials. He showed up and suddenly made the entire Chaldea staff feel like criminals. Even though the team had worked tirelessly to resolve one of humanity's biggest crises, the outside world didn't see them as heroes. To them, Chaldea was just a group of frauds wasting resources, constantly ray-shifting and summoning hundreds of heroic spirits. All of it was to save humanity from total annihilation. It's ironic that in 2015, when this story started, the outside world was already gone, burned to nothing. Chaldea was the only place left standing, thanks to a special protective shield. But once everything was resolved, they were branded as criminals. They were treated like trash, locked in cells, movements restricted, interrogated for over 6 hours at a time, and subjected to verbal abuse. It was beyond frustrating. From December 26th to December 31st, 2017, Chaldea staff were treated like prisoners. Meanwhile, Gordolf and Da Vinci were busy with the cryogenic pods containing the original 7 masters, all in critical condition. When Gordolf finally opened one of the pods, it was empty. No vitals, no bodies, nothing. And then it got worse. Out of nowhere, troops in pitch-black armor and masks stormed Chaldea. These soldiers were armed to the teeth. Axes, guns, you name it. And they had one mission: destroy anything that moved. This was the start of the nightmare. By the end of 2017, almost the entire Chaldea crew was slaughtered. People ran, hid, and tried to survive, but the soldiers showed no mercy. It was pure chaos. Fujimaru and Mash couldn't do anything. What was supposed to be the start of a new chapter for them turned into the worst nightmare of their lives. A New Year's Eve drenched in blood and despair. In the end, they managed to escape, leaving behind the only home they had ever known. With the arrival of the soldiers and a mysterious woman wielding ice powers, Chaldea was left in ruins, frozen and destroyed. They survived thanks to an emergency plan devised by Holmes and Da Vinci. And so, their new year began with tragedy. That was a little snapshot of what went down in Chaldea at the end of 2017. Everyone there lost something deeply important to them, something that left a mark. And honestly, I just want to take a moment to reflect on it. Fujimaru is Chaldea's one and only master, always on the front lines, side by side with Mash, even though they're just a regular teenager with zero special powers. Sure, they're technically a mage, but they're a total newbie. No special spells or tricks up their sleeve. As a master, top tier, no question. But as a mage, barely passable. During that massive invasion, Fujimaru faced a huge loss. If you've read the manga, you'd know Fujimaru actually had a little squad of other teens working in Chaldea too. There was Munier, Najwa, and Mao Mao Mao. Sometimes Mash would join them, but since they usually hung out in Munier's room, the guy's a hardcore otaku with action figures of Mash and everything, she'd feel a bit awkward about it. The group called themselves the Youth of Chaldea. Just a bunch of kids bonding whenever they had downtime after missions. Late-night chats, messing around. Typical teen stuff. Fujimaru was close to Mash, like really close. They definitely had feelings for each other, but this little group was something special too. One night, Fujimaru, Munier, Najwa, and Mao were hanging out in Munier's room, having their usual late-night chat about whatever. When Fujimaru left, they accidentally grabbed Mao's jacket instead of their own. Mao's diary fell out, and when Fujimaru saw it, they saw that Mao had recently had a birthday. But since it happened during a singularity mission, it went completely uncelebrated. Fujimaru didn't waste any time. They went straight to the kitchen in the middle of the night to bake Mao a cake. Mash, who'd come down for a midnight snack, caught them in the act and decided to help out. The next day, Mao finally got to celebrate her birthday, even if it was late. She ended up eating the cake alone while crying. It was a sweet moment that showed how close Chaldea's crew was, whether young or old, mage or regular human. But when the invasion happened, it all fell apart. Out of the 4 members of the Youth of Chaldea, only Fujimaru and Munier made it out alive. It wasn't just Fujimaru feeling the weight of that loss. Honestly, Mash probably had it the hardest out of everyone. When the crew had to escape Chaldea's frozen remains, she broke down. She begged to go back. For Mash, Chaldea wasn't just a workplace. It was her whole world. It was home. But more than that, she wanted to go back because Romany's room was still there. She wanted to protect it. Deep down, she was still holding on to the hope that he'd come back. She had been taking care of his room all this time, making sure nothing changed. Remember, Mash isn't like most people. She's a designer baby, a homunculus made to be a tool, not a person. She didn't have parents, family, or a childhood. Before Romani came into her life, she was just a test subject. No name, no identity, nothing. But Romani changed that. He gave her a name. He taught her how to read, brought her books. She loved those Sherlock Holmes stories. Bought her clothes, gave her glasses, and even showed her how to take care of plants. He explained why strawberries have seeds on the outside. He taught her about Maggie Marie of all things. He taught her what it meant to be human. And he fought for her too. He pushed to have her instated as a master candidate. In every way that mattered, Romani was Mash's father. All this time, Mash has probably been holding on to the hope that somehow, he'd come back. That when he did, his room would still be there, untouched, waiting for him. And then there's Da Vinci. She was like another parental figure to Mash. But now, the Da Vinci Mash knew, the one who teased Romani alongside her, the one who fought with them through Camelot. She's gone. Sure, she's still around in her new body, but it's not the same. Mash has lost so much. Chaldea, Romani, Da Vinci. It's no wonder that night was the absolute worst New Year's Eve imaginable. This moment, this New Year's moment, still haunts me. It was the point where 2 teenagers who were still new to their world in so many ways had their lives completely turned upside down. It's also the moment that reminds me just how serious things had gotten. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but from this point onward, I couldn't shake the feeling that one of our crew might meet a tragic end. Or worse, Fujimaru himself. That thought lingers every time their story moves forward. Anyway, just a little New Year's reminder for you. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.